At this very moment, there is something you've been longing for quite some time. Something you've tried to bring into your life with all your strength. You've searched for it, visualized it, even waited patiently for it. But what if that constant effort, that persistent attempt, is actually the very reason why what you desire hasn't yet arrived? What if the secret to making everything fall into place doesn't lie in doing more and more, but in stopping and no longer doing? We live in a society where we've been conditioned to chase everything we want. Most people dedicate their lives to running after goals, professional success, an ideal partner, a fulfilling life. But in that constant race to reach something external, without realizing it, they create resistance that ends up pushing away exactly what they want to attract. However, there are those who have discovered how the dynamics of the universe really work. These people don't run after their dreams, they magnetize them. Instead of wearing themselves out trying to achieve something, they adopt an internal frequency that allows them to receive naturally. What they desire comes to them without friction, without struggle, without exhaustion. They become living magnets of abundance. And that is the wisdom you are about to discover. By the end of this video, you'll have clarity on the one internal adjustment that can radically transform your life experience. When you manage to integrate this change, things will start happening by you and for you, not against you. Reality will begin to move in your favor, and it will do so in ways so fluid and surprising that they'll seem magical. If you already feel ready to let go of the waiting and start receiving effortlessly, I invite you to hit the like button, subscribe, and write in the comments, "It already belongs to me." Because once you truly understand it and make it yours, there's no going back. Your life takes an irreversible turn. Reality is not a distant or random force acting without purpose, nor is it an external system completely unrelated to you. Every moment you experience is a direct response to the energy you're emitting, consciously or unconsciously. Life doesn't just happen to you, it reflects you. The real challenge is that most people go through life without knowing this. They believe they need to chase change, fight for it, force it. But in reality, deep change isn't chased, it's allowed. Right now, in this precise moment, you have a possibility before you. An opening. A door to a new way of seeing what has always been there, even if it's remained hidden in plain sight. Take a moment to connect with this instant of calm. This pause in the middle of the daily mental whirlwind is not random. Often, our minds are trapped in a routine of wanting to control, demanding results, trying to manipulate events. And paradoxically, the more we desire something with anxiety, the more we push it away. Reflect. Surely at some point you wanted something so intensely that it became an obsession. Maybe it was a job opportunity, a romantic relationship, an important change. It took over your thoughts, dominated your emotions, and you came to believe that only that could bring you happiness. But despite all your efforts, it seemed unreachable. And then the exhaustion came. You stopped clinging so tightly. You surrendered emotionally. And in that moment, almost like magic, what once seemed so far away manifested. Why? Because it wasn't a coincidence. There's a principle, a law that governs manifestation, and it has been ignored by most. It's not about luck or chance. It's a pattern that's been explored both in ancient spiritual teachings and in the most advanced discoveries of contemporary science. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains it clearly. Every thought, every emotion, generates a specific frequency that is transmitted to the universe. And that frequency is what shapes your external experience. When you desire something from a place of need or lack, that's exactly what you emit. And reality, as the mirror it is, gives you back more need, more lack. Desperate desire creates more anxiety. The pursuit perpetuates the distance. That which is desperately desired remains elusive, not because it's out of reach, but because the states of wanting and having operate in completely different dimensions. You are vibrating in a frequency of lack, not in the frequency of fulfillment. Now think about those moments when something amazing happened without you planning it. Maybe you received an unexpected call, a coincidence opened a new path, or you met someone at just the right moment. There was no planning, no obsession. It just happened. That's how authentic manifestation works, when you're not trying to force it. The true power of creating your reality lies in alignment, not in pushing. It's a process of tuning in, of resonance. To understand this more deeply, it's vital to integrate an essential truth. Creation doesn't happen outside, but within. You're not bringing things toward you. You're allowing yourself to receive them by becoming the person who already has them. Your mind works like an antenna that constantly emits signals. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs generate a vibration that acts as an order to the universe. Neuroscience supports this. The brain is not simply a passive observer, but an active co-creator. Every repeated thought strengthens a neural pathway. Those pathways create patterns, habits, decisions, and consequently, results. People who live from scarcity, who are trapped in thoughts of "I don't have," tend to replicate that same experience over and over. While those who cultivate gratitude, certainty, and inner peace attract well-being and prosperity with ease. And this is where the true transformation begins. When you decide to stop controlling every detail, when you let go of fear, need, urgency, and choose to trust, then everything begins to reorganize. Reality responds with synchronicities, with doors that open on their own. What once seemed unreachable becomes inevitable. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not imply resignation or passivity. Letting go is an act of wisdom. It is entering a state of openness, of trust, of inner knowing. Detachment, in this context, is not disinterest, but certainty that everything is already falling into place. When you desire something and do so from a vibration of certainty, as if it were already part of your present, you are sending a signal coherent with that outcome. Your energy field aligns with the experience you want to live, instead of continuing to resonate with its absence. Your subconscious mind plays a decisive role in all of this. It houses the oldest programs, the most deeply rooted beliefs. If you grew up believing that everything is achieved through sacrifice, that life is a constant struggle, that success is reserved for a select few, then that will be the pattern you repeat. But you can reprogram your subconscious. You can choose new beliefs, new narratives. And in the moment you become aware that the world is not punishing you, but reflecting what you carry inside, everything changes. You free yourself. You begin to create from a new place. From power, not from need. From certainty, not from doubt. Reality then becomes an echo of your internal state. And you, the conscious creator of your own experience. It is no longer about forcing circumstances in the hope that they will change. Rather, it is about evolving internally until you become that authentic version of yourself that, by its very presence, naturally attracts those circumstances. A person who radiates genuine confidence does not need to seek external validation because their self-assurance speaks for itself. Someone who truly vibrates at the frequency of abundance does not feel the need to cling anxiously to wealth or hoard out of fear of scarcity. The vibration of being, the energy of "I am," will always have more impact than the energy of "I want." This is the fundamental key that transforms what was once perceived as an almost esoteric or mystical phenomenon, manifestation, into a completely applicable and functional process in everyday life. It is not about striving harder, doing nonstop, but about becoming a fuller, more conscious being. So, what happens when the urge to fight ceases? What happens when one stops being emotionally attached to outcomes and instead places deep trust that everything unfolds according to a perfect order? What happens is that reality adjusts. Those things that once seemed distant, almost unreachable, begin to manifest with unexpected fluidity. Opportunities appear without warning, often in ways that could never have been rationally anticipated. That which was once intensely pursued begins to draw near on its own. The mind no longer operates from tension or resistance, but from a state of serene acceptance, of receptivity. And it is precisely in that instant, in that subtle but profound turning point, when everything transforms, not through compulsive effort, but through conscious surrender. And it's worth clarifying that this surrender does not represent weakness or resignation, but rather the highest expression of self-control and inner mastery. The more desperately something is chased, the further it moves away. It is an unbreakable energetic law. Every second spent obsessing, frantically seeking signs, anxious about its arrival, sends a clear message to the universe: I don't have it. And since reality acts as a faithful mirror of the inner world, that sense of lack is reaffirmed and perpetuated. But when one decides to release the urge to control every detail of the process, when attachment is relaxed and space is made for the spontaneity of the universe, that's when real change begins to take root. Not because the desire has vanished, nor because hope is abandoned, but because the energy of already having begins to integrate into the body, emotions, and thoughts. And at the exact moment that integration occurs, life begins to align with that new state of being, without the need for pressure or suffering. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches that the human brain functions like a broadcasting tower of constant signals, which manifest as thoughts and emotions. When a thought is accompanied by anxiety, fear, or hopelessness, it transmits an energetic frequency of scarcity. The more attention is focused on what is missing, on what is not yet had, the more powerful that signal becomes, thereby reinforcing the experience of absence and driving the object of desire further away. However, the instant the mind makes a deep shift from wanting to knowing, from hoping to assuming, the frequency also transforms. Reality ceases to reflect lack and begins to manifest fullness. This is not a fantasy or an illusion. This is how consciousness and the quantum field interact. The vibration of having carries a completely different quality than that of needing. One attracts magnetically, the other, on the contrary, repels. Think about the times when something came into your life with astonishing ease. Unexpected opportunities, relationships that blossomed effortlessly, gratifying experiences that simply happened, without planning or anxiety. Now compare it to those moments when you chased something desperately, when every thought revolved around making it happen, when waiting was almost an emotional torture. Most of the time, that which was longed for seemed to remain out of reach, as if it slipped away with each attempt. The difference is not arbitrary. In the first case, you were aligned with your desire. In the second, you were in resistance to it. Letting go does not mean pretending not to care. It's not about faking detachment while deep down still waiting anxiously or constantly checking if it has already arrived. That simulation does not fool reality, because it does not respond to empty words, but to the authentic emotional energy being emitted, to the deepest beliefs residing in the subconscious. That's why forced detachment doesn't work. That's why trying to convince the mind that it doesn't want something while the heart intensely longs for it creates internal dissonance. The key lies in training the mind and body to inhabit a state where having is perceived as something natural, as something already integrated, so that the emotional frequency is not one of lack, but of absolute certainty. For this reason, Dr. Dispenza emphasizes the importance of feeling before seeing. The nervous system does not distinguish between a real experience and an intensely lived visualization. Emotions like gratitude, joy, or fulfillment generate the same chemical responses in the body, whether they are triggered by past memories or future projections. That is the secret. If you teach your body to feel as if you are already living what you desire, then the energetic signal you emit synchronizes with the reality you yearn for. And when that vibrational match occurs, reality has no choice but to reflect it. But the question remains valid. How do you get to that point? How can you avoid depending on external signs, avoid seeking confirmations at every step, avoid falling into the trap of waiting? The answer is powerful in its apparent simplicity, by first changing your identity. If a person perceives themselves as someone who is always waiting, longing, or chasing, the universe will continue to validate that version. But if the self-image transforms, if the body and mind are programmed to live as that future version who already has what they desire, then the external world must inevitably adjust to that new vibration. That's where the deepest metamorphosis occurs. No longer begging, receiving instead. no longer desiring from a place of lack, living from a place of fulfillment. And it's not about repeating empty affirmations, but about restructuring the deepest beliefs, reprogramming the subconscious to truly believe it, to feel it, to know it with absolute conviction. When the internal struggle between desire and doubt disappears, everything begins to flow with unexpected naturalness. The opportunities, people, and circumstances that once seemed so distant begin to manifest without barriers. That's why sometimes doing nothing can be the most powerful act of all, not in the sense of apathy, but in the sense of complete trust. When the mind stops interfering, when the endless cycle of control and worry ends, a fertile space opens for reality to transform. What once seemed impossible begins to happen, not because it was forced, but because it has already been claimed at the deepest level, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. So, what do you really need to do in this moment? You need to stop. Yes, stop running after what you so deeply crave. It's time to end that constant pursuit. Stop seeking, clinging, stretching out your hand, trying to desperately reach something, whether it be a personal goal, a relationship, a professional opportunity, or even that dream you've been visualizing for so long. That compulsion to constantly try to manifest it, to look for clues or signs, to ask yourself why it hasn't arrived yet, is precisely what keeps it away. Because every time your mind forms questions like, "Where is it?" or "Why hasn't it happened yet?" you are sending a direct and forceful message to the universe. I don't have it. I'm still lacking it. In reality, like a faithful mirror, will always reflect that state of lack. Pause for a second to reflect. If you had already achieved it, if it were already part of your present, if everything were flowing harmoniously and naturally, you wouldn't be looking for signs. You wouldn't be doubting. You wouldn't be trying to verify whether it is manifesting. Your attitude would be entirely different. There would be a sense of inner calm, mental peace, a serene confidence that simply knows everything is in motion. That deep certainty that whispers, "Of course it's happening. Of course it's mine." And it is precisely that energetic vibration that allows the pieces to finally fall into place. Because when you stop chasing something with anxiety, that something begins to gently gravitate toward the person who is ready to receive it with open arms. The renowned Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that the repetitive thoughts and emotions we cultivate daily generate an individual electromagnetic field, a sort of personal frequency that constantly emits signals to the environment, thereby determining what is attracted or repelled. When attention is focused on the urgency to obtain something, the body enters an emotional state dominated by scarcity, insecurity, and impatience. These kinds of emotions create a vibration that repels what is so deeply desired, as if it were an inverted magnet. But when that energy changes, when the mind and body synchronize with the internal sensation of already having what is desired, reality begins to reconfigure accordingly. External situations begin to transform. The right people, unexpected opportunities, and favorable circumstances appear effortlessly, not as a result of insistence, but through pure vibrational resonance. That's why the first step, though it may seem simple, is deeply transformative. Stop looking for proof. Let go of the need for external validation. Stop trying to decipher how and when it will happen. In the moment you free your mind from that relentless search, a fertile space opens for life to flow spontaneously. And it's precisely there that the true inner metamorphosis begins. Although, of course, this is where the real challenge appears. At first, letting go seems easy. You may feel a wave of confidence, a new certainty that makes you think everything is on track. But then, as it usually happens, time passes. Maybe an hour, perhaps a day, a week, and suddenly doubt returns. Your mind starts whispering again. But where is it? Why hasn't it happened yet? That moment is the real test. That's where most people get sidetracked, falling back into old mental patterns, slipping into the energy of waiting, anxiety, and constant monitoring. And when that happens, the process restarts from zero. The momentum that had started to build fades, and the cycle of lack begins again. So, how do you break that cycle? How do you maintain the connection with deep knowledge without falling back into insecurity? The answer lies in surrender, but an authentic, honest surrender without reservations. Not as an act of resignation, but as a statement of faith and complete trust. This means embracing uncertainty, letting go of the desire to control every detail, and fully inhabiting the version of yourself that already lives in harmony with what you want to manifest. And this is, without a doubt, the most complicated step for many people. Some manage to feel, for a few moments, that they already possess what they want. However, they can't release the attachment to time. They can't let go of the need to know when or how it will arrive. But at the precise moment those ties dissolve, the frequency changes radically. The body begins to experience emotions like gratitude, fulfillment, and joy even before seeing tangible results. The mind abandons the state of lack. And since reality is a reflection of our inner world, that vibration begins to exert a powerful magnetic attraction. When you're no longer looking for signs, obsessed with the clock, or trapped in the need to verify if something is happening, the desire is driven to manifest. That is the true power. It does not lie in forcing things to happen, nor in chasing or clinging, but in aligning with the energy of already having it. Once this inner shift is solidified, when detachment is genuine, when surrender is sincere and complete, reality responds. Not because you pushed it to happen, but because you've already claimed it as yours. When doubt arises, do not act. Don't try to resist it or reject it. Don't desperately try to calm yourself. Let that doubt pass like a cloud without getting hooked. Because the moment you fight against it, whether by worrying, overanalyzing, or trying to control, you're interfering with the energy that allows the universe to align with you. But if you can stay calm, without moving, without reacting, without trying to fix anything, something truly powerful happens. You enter a state of openness, of effortless receiving. And it is then, right there, that everything begins to approach you. Not because you chased it, but because you became someone already in harmony with it. Many believe that something must always be done, that constant action is required, that one must always be in motion to achieve results. But Dr. Joe Dispenza reminds us that the most powerful action does not take place on the physical plane, but in the inner world. It is the direction of your thoughts and emotions that truly creates your experience. Reality does not respond to pressure or excessive effort. It responds to vibrational coherence. When someone emits the frequency of already having what they desire, when they do not react, doubt, or search, they become a magnetic force. But the moment they begin to question, they disconnect from that frequency and return to the state of absence. That's why doing nothing, staying serene, confident, and centered, is, paradoxically, the most powerful act you can perform. And there's one more step, one final internal movement, a definitive transformation that puts everything in its place. Up to this point in the process, two fundamental events have already occurred. First, the constant chasing has ceased. Action is no longer driven by urgency or desperation. There is no longer an anxious search for proof, nor is there dependence on external signs to confirm what is desired. Second, internal energy has been preserved. Instead of falling back into old mental patterns marked by doubt, anxiety, or uncertainty, a firm, deliberate, and conscious decision has been made to embrace the unknown with faith, to fully trust that things will unfold harmoniously, according to their own rhythm and perfect timing. Now, the final step is, in reality, what produces the most significant transformation, making peace with the silence that precedes manifestation. This is the exact point where many people encounter difficulties, stumble, or get stuck. Because after letting go, relinquishing control, and aligning emotionally and energetically with what they desire, they expect the results to manifest immediately and tangibly. They enter a kind of impatient waiting, thinking, "I've done everything correctly, so why hasn't it arrived yet?" And right at the moment that thought appears, the entire energy system resets. They return to a mode of expectation, questioning, scanning the environment for signs, and with that, They unknowingly return to the previous state, to the starting point. That fraction of doubt, that small moment of impatience, can undo all the progress made. But there's something essential that must be understood. There is always a space, a separation between the moment a new internal state is adopted and the moment it is reflected in external reality. That interval is not a delay, not a punishment, nor a warning that something is wrong. It is, in truth, a phase of energetic realignment. Reality is not resisting. It is simply reorganizing to match the new vibration you are emitting. What we interpret as a delay is, in fact, the final stage of the process before manifestation fully materializes. Imagine it like planting a seed in the earth. A farmer who sows does not anxiously watch the soil, expecting to see sprouts within minutes. Nor does he dig up the soil periodically to check if the seed is germinating. No, he knows nature takes its course. He waters patiently, allows the sun to do its part, and trusts that growth will occur in due time. On the other hand, those who constantly interfere, who doubt the process and try to control the outcome, end up interrupting natural development and hindering the possibility of growth. The same happens with any desire we seek to manifest. There is a sacred space between the intention and its materialization, and that space requires trust, calm, and above all, presence. Those who have deeply understood this, who allow themselves to inhabit the silence without resistance, who maintain their energy without fluctuating in the face of appearances, are the ones who observe how everything falls into place with almost magical ease. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains it clearly. When an individual's energy is completely aligned with what they desire, reality has no choice but to adapt. It's not a matter of whether it will happen or not. It's a matter of when it will happen. But that when is directly related to that person's ability to keep vibrating in the state of "I already have it" without breaking that frequency. If anxiety is allowed to return, if the mind goes back to searching, analyzing, or questioning, the energetic frequency is altered and everything must start again. However, if the person manages to remain firm, feeling, trusting, and knowing from the depths of their being, then everything aligns in perfect synchronicity. So, from this moment on, when you feel like nothing is moving, when the environment becomes silent and uncertainty tries to sneak in through a crack, do not react. Do not try to control. Simply remain. Stay in that state of absolute certainty. Because when the art of silence is mastered, when there is no longer a need to search, to ask, to force, and when the energy remains stable and immovable, that is when everything manifests perfectly, not through force, nor through insistent effort, but because everything is completely aligned. At that moment, there is only one more step: to do nothing. Continue living, breathing, walking each day with the same serenity of someone who knows they already own what they desire. Because that is the truth, it is already done. The instant a genuine internal change occurs, when the vibration shifts from deep within, is also the moment when reality begins to reconfigure. And the only thing that can delay its arrival is the need to control, doubt, or impatience. Most people fall here. They believe that if they are not actively searching, trying, or doing something, then nothing will happen. But the process of manifestation is not based on constant effort, but on resonance with the desired outcome. As Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, the body and mind must coexist in a state that reflects as if the desired future has already arrived. That means walking through life with confidence, without looking for evidence or signs, without asking at every moment when or how it will come. Because when those questions arise, what is being communicated to the body and mind is that it is still not here, and that perception is exactly what manifests. But the opposite is also true. When a person no longer needs to confirm anything, when they can sit in stillness and feel just as fulfilled as if they already had what they want, then everything begins to flow in their direction without any resistance. Not because they pursued it with desperation, but because they vibrated in harmony with it. And the universe, which acts as a faithful mirror, can do nothing but return that which already lives within them. So when doubt appears, When the urge to control or verify insists on surfacing, choose another response. Don't react. Don't do anything. But not out of indifference, rather from conviction. From the certainty that there is no longer any need to chase, because what was once desired is already on its way. Everything is happening, unfolding in perfect synchronicity, even if you cannot see it yet. The true change has already occurred. And when this understanding takes root, the entire landscape changes. There is no more waiting. There is no more hoping. There is only certainty. And from that state of deep certainty, life begins to open up like a fan of infinite possibilities. Opportunities that once seemed impossible appear out of nowhere. Key people enter your life at exact moments, and unexpected solutions present themselves with surprising ease. What you once intensely longed for now arrives effortlessly, in ways even grander than you imagined. This is the power of allowing. True power is not in control, but in allowing life to flow. From that moment on, you no longer need to chase anything, because everything you once pursued now begins to seek you. This is what differentiates those who constantly struggle from those who naturally thrive. Those who understand and live this truth never return to the old paradigm. They no longer force themselves, overanalyze, or wait anxiously, because they know that manifestation never depended on doing more, but on being. And when that is mastered, life stops feeling like a struggle and becomes a beautiful and continuous experience of expansion. Now, the choice is entirely yours. You can continue dragging the habits of the past, doubt, stress, the need to force, or you can take a step toward a new path, one full of trust, flow, and conscious surrender. And the key to that path is simple. Do nothing. Let go of the urge to control. Release the belief that more must be done. Because the only thing truly required is to maintain your energetic state, to remain aligned, to be unwavering in the certainty that it is already done. So this is the moment to affirm it. Write it. Feel its truth. Declare out loud. I let go and flow. Make it your mantra. If this message has resonated with you, if this vision has opened your eyes to a new way of seeing life, share it with someone who needs it. Because sometimes, the most powerful action you can take is to do nothing. Now, answer yourself honestly. What are you willing to allow into your life, effortlessly? Leave it in the comments. Declare it, and let's begin to create it.